2, 1.
On shuttle rocket boosters, a wing and a prayer, America is back in the astronauts in space business.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Go.
Go they did, to reach for the sky and orbit. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting tonight from the Kennedy Space Center. Good evening. The all-veteran 5-member crew of Discovery is in orbit, and here at the Kennedy Space Center, they're floating on air. The space shuttle program is off the ground again. 2.5 years after Challenger, this is the shakedown flight of a redesigned shuttle program with new safety rules. NASA bent its own new safety rules a bit today to get this shot up, but get it up they did, and successfully. Tonight, the astronauts accomplished the main task of the mission. They tested and then released from the cargo bay a 2.5-ton satellite called TDRS, a $100 million satellite NASA needs for its communications network. Mission accomplished. But the most important mission of Discovery is still in progress. That's to fly safely all the way, to prove that all the shuttle fixes that worked on paper will work in the air and in space. They started proving it today. 6:52 a.m. Bathed in cold, eerie light, NASA technicians looked Discovery over for what they hoped would be one final time before it leapt into space. For a while, a good long while, it appeared as if Discovery's 5-man crew would find themselves in an all-too-familiar position, all dressed up with no place to go. 7:27 a.m. Hugh Harris, the voice of Mission Control. There would be a hold.
The wind is much lighter and from a different direction than the vehicle is programmed to be taking advantage of.
Computers aboard Discovery had been programmed 2 weeks ago to account for high winds during liftoff. Lighter winds, NASA said, would mean additional stress on the orbiter because the computer had been programmed for the opposite effect, and the computer program could not be changed in time. 10:03 a.m. The mood dramatically shifts. Launch Director Bob Seek talks to the crew.
Stay with us. I think we'll make it.
Well, we don't want this thing to leave without us.
New data was in place, a, quote, refined engineering analysis. That required, however, a waiver of launch rules. The winds suddenly were officially within safety margins. 11:24 a.m. Cleared for takeoff.
We come out of the hold in approximately 3 minutes.
The countdown was back on. The towers moved back. And America thundered back into space. Watch and listen.
2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
3 engines at 104%.
For the men and women workers here at the Kennedy Space Center and at other NASA centers, this was the day they waited for, the day they could soar again, to prove the can-do space agency still could. Our CBS News veteran space program correspondent Bruce Saul is here now after spending the long, anxious night with them and on into daylight and the light. Bruce?
Dan, with all the delays, all the agony, the launch wound up at 11:37, just 1 minute earlier than that tragic day 32 months ago when Challenger lifted off. For NASA employees, that added to the tension and emotion.
For the close-knit space family, the future was riding on the shoulders of the Discovery crew. Another failure like Challenger could have signaled the end of America's manned space program. With every delay, apprehension grew. Rains were moving toward the launch site, but Discovery pilot Dick Covey tried to ease the tension.
For the benefit of the crew and those on air to ground one, the latest winds data aloft did show some improvement.
Finally, there was that slight shift in the winds and that quick decision, go for launch.
And liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery.
In the control room, remembering Challenger, they stared at their screens in silence for 2 minutes, 4 seconds until after the boosters separated. Then there was a sigh of relief and congratulations from NASA Administrator James Fletcher.
Wow. That was really something.
The nation owes you a lot, and will continue to owe you a lot in the months and years to come.
It was the end of months of remorse, restructuring, and rebuilding.
You could almost feel the emotional drain from the people there, and I thought that it just symbolized, again, the pride in the realization of the significance of what everybody had done.
While NASA and America applauded the launch, some in the space community said it wasn't time for NASA to rest on its laurels.
We've got 18 shuttle launches scheduled before the end of 1990, and it's the ability to meet that kind of schedule that'll be the real test of how the system is good.
For some time, NASA has been saying it would be ready to return to space by September 29th. It was a nerve-wracking morning, but Dan, NASA was true to its word.
And all up and down this Florida coast, as you know, Bruce, the roads and shorelines were full of people, full of expectation. They came to watch a space shuttle lift off and light up the skies, something they hadn't seen in a very long time. Correspondent Peter Van Sant was with them as they got what they came for and more.
They came in the night by the tens of thousands, turning roads into campsites and the area around the Space Center into a giant parking lot. They had to be here.
I promised myself, and I'm keeping that promise, I will see the Discovery go up.
This is what America needs. We need to forge ahead, you know? And I'm praying to Almighty God that this goes up and everyone's safe.
At dawn, the crowds, emotions, and expectations continued to build.
I came all the way from Rochester, New York to see it, and I think we really need it.
Even 3-year-old Alexander Summer was fired up.
Well, it's going to be over there. But I thought it's going to be over there.
Is it going to blast off?
Some will be watching Discovery ride the flame into space with apprehension. The memories of the Challenger disaster still fresh in their minds.
I'm going to fear that something is going to go wrong, but I think they've got it together this time and everything's going to go good.
The children of Challenger 7 Elementary School, just miles from the launch site, saw the worst 32 months ago. They needed a successful launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm just so happy that we finally did it. It took long enough.
Everywhere people had gathered, they cheered Discovery's brilliant light.
I feel damn proud to be in America now.
We're looking forward to it so much.
It's a big load off our shoulders.
Thank God.
Among those most touched by Discovery's ascent, a group of students and teachers from Boulder, Colorado, who returned 2.5 years after watching Challenger disintegrate before their eyes. This time, there were tears of joy.
Once it had gotten to the point of past where Challenger was, and they said, go a throttle up, and it kept going. That was just more than I could explain.
It was so frightening, and it's such a relief to see it hit that peak and then go.
It's amazing. It's fantastic. It's like the excitement is so great.
It was great to look up there and see the full, complete contrail. You know, that was wonderful.
It was like 2 years of emotion pent up that all came out at once.
Relief, success. America back where it belongs, in space. Peter Van Sant, CBS News at the Kennedy Space Center.
Remember when we said that stuff about for richer, for poorer?
I do.
Well, then how come your coffee looks darker than mine?
Mine's decaffeinated Folgers Crystals. Yours is the decaffeinated you always drink.
Did you use the same amount?
Sure. These dark, sparkling crystals are made from Folgers mountain-grown beans.
Mmm, really rich.
Sip.
Mmm.
Love it?
I do.
You do?
I do.
You're crazy about me.
I am.
Trust me.
Decaffeinated Folgers Crystals. So dark and rich. Shouldn't you switch?
Original Yoplait is the yogurt with nothing on the bottom.
Nothing on the bottom.
I have lumpy yogurt with fruit jammed on the bottom.
Nothing on the bottom.
Yoplait smooth and creamy with fruit right up to the top.
Nothing but natural. Nothing but no fat. Nothing on the bottom. And that's the end of that.
Original Yoplait.
Nothing on the bottom. And that's the end of that.
Oh, yeah.
For
For every investment expert who says the market's going up, an expert says it's going down. If the experts can't be certain, what chance do you have? A much better chance if you invest in Nuveen for steady, tax-free income. Nuveen, it's the long-term investment of certainty in a climate of uncertainty. Nuveen, America's tax-free investments.
For more information, call your broker or financial advisor or 800-7-TAX-FREE.
Among the millions of Americans glued to their television sets for the shuttle launch was President Reagan. He watched in the Oval Office with his fingers crossed, he says. Then the president went out to the Rose Garden and announced triumphantly that America is back in space.
We're now looking forward to the successful completion of the Discovery mission and the safe return of her 5-member crew. We salute the bravery of Rick Hawk, Dick Covey, Pinky Nelson, Mike Lounge, and Dave Hilmers, and we ask God to bless this important voyage.
Today's Discovery mission, the payload and experiment packages, is nothing like what it was originally supposed to be. Defense Department correspondent David Martin reports tonight it's now mostly a test mission for a shuttle program that will never be the same again. Not for NASA, not for the Pentagon.
The flight of Discovery was originally intended to be a military mission launched from California's Vandenberg Air Force Base. But what was to have been the military's first spaceport is now in mothballs, a $3.5 billion testament to the havoc wreaked by the Challenger accident. And it wasn't just the Challenger. 3 months later, an unmanned Titan rocket carrying a spy satellite blew up shortly after launch.
We also blew up a Delta at the same time, and that represents 3/4 of the launchers that the United States had at its disposal at that time, the fourth being the Atlas. And it pretty much immobilized the space program in the United States.
The military's newest navigation satellite was supposed to be launched on the shuttle, but here it sits, part of the backlog of more than 20 military satellites. Even though NASA is building a 4th orbiter to replace Challenger, shuttle launches alone can't make up the lost ground. So the Pentagon is spending $10 billion on new rockets and launch pads. Never again will the military allow itself to become so dependent on the shuttle.
The number of flights off the shuttle will decrease by the Department of Defense. We used to have all of them on the shuttle. Now we're going to a more balanced approach. We'll fly maybe 3 or 4 missions per year off the shuttle.
The military has in effect decided that virtually everything it needs to do in space can be done without the help of man. There are those who say the same holds true for the scientific exploration of space.
All of those things that you can postulate man can do, you can do better, cheaper, with much less technology involved than if you try to accomplish the same thing with man involved.
For the military, it was an easy decision. They simply could not afford the delays and costs of putting man into space. For the rest of society, the question of abandoning manned spaceflight is not so simple. To do that would cede the solar system to Soviet cosmonauts who already have established a continuous presence in space. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Now, with the shuttle back in business, the United States and 11 allied countries signed an agreement today to build a permanent space station for the free world. This plan calls for 22 shuttle missions over the next 10 years to get all the hardware into orbit. Space Station Freedom will cost $23 billion. That's to come from the United States, Japan, Canada, and the European Space Agency. The Soviets tried to steal some of Discovery's thunder today. For the first time, Soviet television showed off pictures of the Soviet Union's own version of the space shuttle. Theirs is yet to fly. The photos show it looks a lot like the U.S. space shuttle. It is widely believed the Soviets modeled theirs after the U.S. version. Soviet Foreign Minister Shevardnadze arrived in Moscow today, summoned back from the UN to attend an urgent meeting tomorrow of the Communist Party Central Committee. Today it was announced that the Central Committee meeting will be followed on Saturday by a full session of the rubber-stamped Supreme Soviet. Moscow sources say Mikhail Gorbachev is whipping the party troops in line to ratify major reforms, more of them, and maybe another purge in the Kremlin's top ranks.
Look, there she is. See it? All right.
I need a moment in my day.
Yes, sir. I've got a Tuesday tip.
Take myself at
Yes, sir.
ease.
Thank you.
And nothing's like being invisible, and nothing's better for seeing the forest for the trees.
Fiber presents new Cinnamon Apple Crisp and a Fruit and Fiber cereal fanatic who never forgets our name.
Right, never. Hey, this is new. Chunks of really crisp apple, cinnamon, it's fruit and...
Post Fruit and Fiber cereal introduces Cinnamon Apple Crisp with crisp, delicious apple, cinnamon, and high-fiber flakes.
Well, no wonder I forgot. This new taste is terrific.
New Cinnamon Apple Crisp Fruit and Fiber. Tastes so good, you forget the fiber.
She has legs that just won't give up. It's a feeling that really shows. She's a no-nonsense kind of woman. She wears no-nonsense pantyhose.
No-nonsense light support gives you that firm, toned-up feeling all day at a very attractive price.
She makes the most of her day. She gives it all that she's got. She's one busy lady. Her legs never stop. No nonsense. Well, if the attitude fits, wear it.
The Nobel Peace Prize was awarded today to the United Nations peacekeeping forces. The Nobel Committee passed over world leaders such as Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev to honor soldiers from all over the world who risked their lives standing between armed enemies in Lebanon, Afghanistan, Iran and Iraq, Syria, Cyprus and Kashmir. From UN headquarters, Wyatt Andrews has our report.
They celebrated the Nobel Peace Prize out there on the front lines where they won it. This award given to the 10,000 soldiers assigned to 7 UN peacekeeping missions around the world. Most of the soldiers, the men and women manning the checkpoints in southern Lebanon.
I think it's wonderful news, and I think it's a just reward.
I think they deserved it.
The award was a morale boost for the United Nations and for Secretary General Perez de Cuellar. After years of being known as a fountain of hot air, the UN this year now mediates peace plans in both Afghanistan and the Persian Gulf. Its credibility is sharply on the rise.
My Lord, at last the UN has won something.
The prize catches the United States in the embarrassing position of owing the peacekeeping forces more than $88 million in back dues. Congress got angry at the peacekeeping forces in Lebanon when the troops withdrew to safety in Israel after the 1982 Israeli invasion. The U.S. isn't alone in debt. The Soviets owe these forces $180 million. The Peace Prize also draws attention to the plight of Colonel William Higgins, the American commander helping to keep the peace in Lebanon, only to be taken hostage.
And I would like this to take the opportunity to repeat an appeal which has been made so often in the past to those who are holding him to release him without delay.
Like many peace prizes of the past, this one went not to anyone who actually made the peace, but to an organization the Nobel Committee wanted to encourage. At the UN, they'll take that and just about anything else to reinforce the now global trend to bring the UN back in style. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News at the United Nations.
A gunman forced his way into the cockpit of a Brazilian airliner on a domestic flight today, shot the co-pilot to death and seized the plane. Later, the Boeing 737 landed at an airport near Brasilia with about 100 hostages aboard. 2 others were wounded in the takeover. They were allowed to get off. Authorities were negotiating with the hijacker by radio, but they wouldn't say what he wanted.
I need home cooking.
Come and get it. Swanson Homestyle Recipe number 8. Deluxe chicken pie with vegetables, gravy, and maybe the flakiest crust you've had since Mama let you grow up to be cowboys. Let's go and get it.
Make it easy on yourself.
Because you've got places to go and things to do. Easy Off makes greasy cleanups easy on ovens, broilers, frying pans, glass casseroles, and lots more.
Make it easy on yourself.
With original heavy-duty Easy Off oven cleaner. And to remove grease and splatters from your microwave, try Easy Off microwave oven cleaner. It's as advanced as your microwave.
A 34-year-old man should not get a terrible headache from putting a toy together. I used to take aspirin or Tylenol, but today I take Advil. You see, my doctor told me to try Advil. He said it contains the same medicine as in the prescription brand Motrin. Just 1 Advil is as effective as 2 regular-strength Tylenol. Advil gets rid of my headaches, and it's gentler to my stomach than aspirin. Advil, tablets and caplets. Advanced medicine for pain.
Meeting your new daughter-in-law.
Uh-huh.
With dirty dentures?
I just soaked them.
Soaking's not enough. Denture Cream cleans almost twice as clean as effort into 90 seconds.
Twice as clean.
Brush with Denture Cream or Minty Denture Gel.
Presidential rivals George Bush and Michael Dukakis agreed on one thing today, their praise for the shuttle mission, but T-minus 40 days and counting to the election, they quickly returned to no-blow-too-low attacks over more earthly matters. CBS News chief political correspondent Bruce Morton reports.
Dukakis' limo blew a tire on the New Jersey Turnpike, but the campaign rolled onto the campus of Rutgers University anyway. There, the governor did something some aides have been urging: hold an environmental event, get endorsed by environmental groups, and a prominent environmentalist.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Quayle.
But everyone knew, as a sign proclaimed, he was the real Robert Redford. Quayle and Bush backers were there, persistent but outnumbered.
We want Bush! We want Bush! We've got a certain amount of noise pollution over here we're going to have to put up with.
Quayle's name came up another way.
You know, calling George Bush an environmentalist is like calling Dan Quayle a statesman.
Dukakis was endorsed by the League of Conservation Voters, which has given him a B and Bush a D-, Environmental Action and Friends of Earth.
Boston Harbor, the dirtiest harbor in America, will cost residents $6 billion to clean.
George Bush has scored environmental points attacking Dukakis for Boston's dirty harbor. Today, Dukakis said he was cleaning it up.
In the course of that cleanup, we've had to fight Mr. Bush and his administration every inch of the way.
There's enough sludge to go around. The Reagan administration vetoed the Clean Water Act and killed regulations which would have made the cleanup easier. But Dukakis twice sought to postpone the cleanup while federal funds went elsewhere and the cost to communities in Massachusetts soared. In the war of cross-country soundbites, Bush today accused Dukakis of demagoguery over Social Security, saying they had both favored a freeze in cost of living increases.
He voted in the National Governors Conference for exactly the same thing he was attacking me on the other night.
Bush is absolutely right about that. Dukakis did. Bush said accusing Republicans of being soft on Social Security is a standard Democratic tactic. Bruce Morton, CBS News, New York.
The District of Columbia jury in the handgun trial of syndicated newspaper columnist Carl Rowan today said it was hopelessly deadlocked. The judge then ruled a mistrial in the case of the 63-year-old advocate of strict handgun control laws. Rowan was charged with using an unregistered pistol to wound an intruder. The prosecution now has 2 weeks to decide if it wants to retry the Rowan case.
Original Yoplait is the yogurt with nothing on the bottom.
Nothing on the bottom.
I have lumpy yogurt with fruit jammed on the bottom.
Nothing on the bottom.
Yoplait's smooth and creamy with fruit right up to the top.
Nothing but natural. Nothing but low fat. Nothing on the bottom. And that's the end of that.
Original Yoplait.
Nothing on the bottom. And that's the end of that.
Oh, yeah.
When your coffee is rich and satisfying, like your time alone, and it's naturally decaffeinated, it's necessarily Nescafe.
Coffee blends to taste away. That's necessarily Nescafe.
Color Tile introduces the spectacular floor tile sale. Every square foot of floor tile is up to 50% off. This handsome earth tone ceramic, just 59 cents. This floral pattern ceramic, only 89 cents. A country look, just $1.19. These dramatic vinyl tile selections from 64 to 87 cents. It's only for floors, only at Color Tile, and only through Sunday. The spectacular floor tile sale.
Bring the beauty home. Color Tile.
Now for indigestion, gas. Introducing new Extra Strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new Extra Strength Malox Plus.
You know, it wasn't just the NASA people. It wasn't just fans of the space program. It wasn't just journalists who this day were pulling for NASA and the Discovery crew. It seemed like the whole world was watching, pausing, waiting for them to light it up and push the edge of the envelope again. waiting for the liftoff that would erase those clouds of doubt, replace the picture of the cloud that hung in the sky when Challenger exploded. Charles Osgood charted the many ways business was not as usual today, the day America paused to dream again.
T-minus 5 minutes and counting.
Those last moments counting down to the launch were anxious ones, and understandably so. Wherever we were, at home, school, work, or on our way, Americans by the millions paused this morning to hold our breath.
T-minus 2 minutes and counting.
Whether it was a classroom in Quincy, Massachusetts, a shopping mall in Atlanta, a firehouse in San Francisco, or the freeways of Los Angeles, in public and in private.
T-minus 90 seconds and counting. Less than 2
You did not have to be a scientist at Mission Control or an engineering student at MIT to understand what this was. Even children knew. This school in Palo Alto, California, is named for a Challenger crewman. It is the Ronald McNair School. With the rest of us, they followed the countdown.
T-minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. We'll go for main engine start. 7, 6. We have main engine start. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
It just chilled, just ran all over me.
I'm thrilled, very excited.
I was excited that it made it up in the air.
At the other critical moment, separation of the booster, even the engineers were ready to smile.
Dropping away as they are supposed to do.
After so much pain and frustration, we could breathe a sigh of relief. It is only a beginning, a new beginning, but so far so good.
Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Charles Osgood, CBS News, New York.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. With congratulations to NASA and to the crew of Discovery, Dan Rather reporting from the Kennedy Space Center. Of course, we'll keep you up to date on any major shuttle flight developments, and later this evening, we hope you'll join us for 48 Hours, tonight entitled Not on My Street, the story of the dramatic desegregation dispute in Yonkers, New York. That's at 8, 7 Central Time. So, see you again soon.
3 good APUs, 3 good fuel cells. Standing by to begin throttle down to 65%. Engines throttling down now to maintain a certain speed as the spacecraft passes through max Q. Three engines at 65% now. Standing by to see engines begin to throttle back up at about 59 seconds.
Not on my street. Low-income housing in middle-class neighborhoods. The clash could come to your town next. 48 Hours tonight.
This is CBS.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Clark. Brenda Blackman has the day off. Coming up next on Eyewitness News, after nearly 2.5-year delay, the United States re-enters space with a successful launch of the shuttle Discovery. We'll have a live report from the Marshall Space Flight Center. Vice presidential candidate Lloyd Bentsen watched the launch preparations with some area school kids, and Governor McWhorter launches his own campaign to keep children in schools. Those stories, plus residents in Murfreesboro voice their opinions about the Super Collider. Eyewitness News is next. Stay with us.
Here's what